It's time for another Out and About with Jamie Grout podcast, and this time we'll be talking with Kent Reed of American Brawn. It's an organization that tries to help out veterans and first responders, and now they have a new twist on American Brawn called the Solace Center for area veterans and first responders, and Kent will be telling us about that in just a couple of moments. I've known Kent for a number of years now, since American Brawn has been going on. I believe it's for probably about 8 years now, and it always keeps growing and expanding in its goals and purpose. So that'll be a very interesting conversation. Hang on for that. First of all, we want to thank our sponsors, Grinnell State Bank, with their locations in Grinnell, Johnston, Marengo, and Polk City. If you haven't tried their online banking yet, check it out. They have all kinds of options to make banking fit into your life at Grinnell State Bank. And also the gang at Total Choice Shipping and Printing. They want you to know that if you are listening to this on Thursday, January 9th, they are closing early at 4:30. The Grinnell High School wrestling meet at Mount Vernon is on. They say, go Tigers, because their son Owen is a GHS wrestler, and they'd like to make it in time for his match. And they also want you to know that they have Valentine's available at Total Choice, packs of 24 for $10.99. That's Total Choice Shipping and Printing in downtown Grinnell. Time for another edition of Out and About with Jamie Grout, and this gentleman I have had a chance to chat with many times because he was on the air with me on Energy 106.7 talking about his nonprofit charity, and that is Kent Reed, who heads up American Brawn. And Kent, for those who don't know, what is the purpose of American Brawn?
Well, Jamie, thanks so much for calling me up. I'm glad we crossed paths in social media.
You bet.
And American Brawn is an organization that I started to pay back and pay forward what our United States veterans, women and men, and our first responders do for us each and every day and have done for 100 years plus. I had a motorcycle accident in June of 2016, and I'm only here today because first responders acted quick. I had 3 skull fractures and a brain bleed. They got to me on the shoulder of a road and stopped the bleeding, got me to Mercy Hospital in Des Moines that finished the job of saving my life. And I was in the ICU for 8 days and went home with a walker and started to rehabilitate from there. My only injuries was the laceration in my head and the internal damage, but I was so unsteady that it took recuperation from there. And in the 6 months I was off of work because I had a seizure in the ER, so I couldn't drive. And I just got to thinking I wanted to do more with the rest of the life God had given me to live and that the first responders helped me find. And that more for me is helping veterans and first responders.
Well, that's good. You've helped veterans and first responders in many ways. Maybe you could tell us about some of those ways.
Absolutely. Our primary mission at American Brawn is as simple as saving lives. And we do that by trying to raise awareness and prevention of suicide among veterans. And with money that we raise and events that we hold, we take and pay out grants to first responder departments to help them do what they do best, and that is saving lives. So we've got over $80,000 worth of life-saving equipment out and about in communities around Iowa and into Nebraska and Minnesota.
So it's not just a Grinnell organization.
Correct.
It's all around. I know that you brought into our studio one day, it was like, I want to call it a recess Annie, but it wasn't a recess Annie. It was a heavy doll-like figure, and it was to help the fire department in Newton.
Yeah, it was a 270-pound dummy.
Okay.
For them to use for training.
Yeah.
And they had one in the past, and it was pretty torn and tattered. I don't even know if it even had all of its appendages, but we bought them a dummy that they used to train to actually lift and drag people out of fires.
Okay.
So yeah, I brought him into your space.
I remember that. Now, what have you done for veterans?
Well, for veterans, I've started out working with an organization called Stop Soldier Suicide out of another part of the country. And I did that for a few years, and they had a good organization going on, but I found it much more responsive and rewarding to work locally with our Veterans Administration folks. The VA hospital has personnel that directly work with PTSD sufferers and suicidal individuals to help them. They consider it a medical situation, mental illness. But then the other side of the VA helps to provide benefits. And they literally search for veterans who aren't getting the benefits they might be qualified for. So I've been able to kind of assist on both sides of that with the people that they see.
And mental health for veterans is so vital, Kent, anymore. It's like the gentleman who sadly mowed down those people in New Orleans was a veteran. The guy who blew up the Tesla at the Trump casino in Las Vegas was a veteran. There really needs to be more done for mental health for veterans.
Yep, you know, I'm gonna step back to the thing that has made me in my life most appreciative of the dedication by veterans and first responders is the time away from their family that they spend away from what is their normal life. Now, some choose to do it as a career, so they might voluntarily make that their life. But still, day in, day out, they're doing things away from their family out of the goodness of their heart because they want to pay people. I mean, they want to help people, not because they get paid $1 million, but because they want to help others. And I spent 32 days in Osaka, Japan on a work project at one point. I had a wife of, I don't know, 10 years at home, a 2-year-old, and a baby. Oh my gosh, I was so homesick while I was over there. And in that time, I got to thinking, you know, a veteran, a military person can easily spend a year away from their family and the life that they know. What dedication and contribution.
And then they come back home and the situation is entirely different.
Yep. And the number that fortunately has become pretty well known, although it's a terrible number, 20 to 22 veterans a day take their lives because they don't want to live with what they're dealing with. Most of those, there's only about 2 a day that take their lives who are still in the service. So the main problem is getting away from the group that they know, the life they've come accustomed to, and the support they have in that. When they get home, it takes serious reaching out to have the same support.
Have you ever seen the movie The Hurt Locker?
I haven't.
It is one that will really kind of tell you how things are for veterans, what they're dealing with. Now, these veterans were in Iraq, and they came home. This one came home, and he just really had trouble dealing. I don't remember him killing himself, but he was a sniper for the military, and he came home, and his situation was 180 degrees different than what he was dealing with before, and it was very difficult for them. And I know that in our studio, when I was working on the radio, you had a phone number for anybody who might be considering suicide.
Yeah, and the great news is that number's gotten easier.
Okay.
It's a quick call to 988.
988.
And if veterans call that number, before they had a regular 800 number, and once they got in, they had to dial 1 because that's the National Suicide Lifeline. It's not a special call or number for veterans. But when they dial 1, it does get them into specialty service. Same thing with 988. They get into 988 and then dial 1, they'll get into veteran specialty just like they would have before. But that number has had, adapting that number and making it available has had a huge difference in call responses, calls into authorities, I understand.
Since we last spoke, which was, gosh, what, a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that, there's been a lot of changes, it seems like for the better, for American Brawn, and you kind of changed your philosophy around a little bit. Tell us about some of those changes and your ideas and changes in philosophy, Kent.
Sure. It was the summer of 18 when I got the idea to do American Brawn and started working along that line. And since then, my mission to help others, and specifically veterans and first responders that saved my life, hasn't changed. My passion for it hasn't changed. A lot of people, and I tell a lot of people when I speak, think of something more that you can do with your life. And it's hard to do that in an area that you're passionate about. But it's so easy for me to be passionate for what these people do for us. And I went from, over the last 5 years, of going out into our communities, taking VA materials to hand out for suicide prevention, benefit number that they could call, holding statewide bags tournaments to try to draw people and again give them information. I went around and handed that material out. A lot of work, a lot of time on my part and other volunteers that would go with me. I don't regret a single minute of that, but I have since ran across a gentleman by the name of Scott Dressler, who has a place in Cedar Rapids called the CAV, the community of artists and veterans. He's a retired 28-year Army veteran who told his mother when he went into the service, thinking for a couple of years, that he would go to college when he got out. 28 years later, he went to college when he got out to get his degree in fine arts, and he started up this cab to have art projects ongoing once or twice a week for veterans to come and work on. A way to soothe their minds, get their mind off of whatever else might be bugging them at home or at work or wherever. And I came back from visiting his studio, and on the drive back from Cedar Rapids, I had one place in mind that would have a similar feel of his. He's in the upper floors of the courthouse in Cedar Rapids, amidst the river there. Big high windows, and that place is the top floor of the Masonic Lodge, the Masonic building here in Grinnell. And I thought, man, I wonder who I should talk to about that. I wonder who owns the building. I wonder. I made one phone call to who I found was in charge by going to their Facebook page. A gentleman by the name of Chris Harris is their current worshipful master, the current man in charge, and told him what I wanted to do. Within a month, he had a meeting with me in front of a dozen of their members and told them what I would like to do with this space, and that is invite veterans and first responders and their families and close friends to come to us to get the material and to provide art projects. We have music listening, a small library of reading materials, and I'm not a big reader. In fact, I go out of my way to try not to have to read things. But I have a lot of light reading, casual reading of Sports Illustrated books that have been paid. Guinness Book of World Records kind of a thing. Things you can pick up, read a little bit, and then put it down and move on. I've started a collection of music instruments. I had an electric guitar donated to us. I've got an accordion that was my mother's, I didn't think would play, but at our open house, a lady was sitting there playing it when I walked into the room. Just a lot of different things and ways for people to come to us. Every Thursday night from 6 to 8, we're there. Open doors, no RSVP needed. Don't have to come in at 6. Come in at 7:30 and we'll be there for another 30 minutes plus.
Is there a cost involved?
No cost whatsoever. I had some concern and anticipated needed to continually raise money to pay for supplies that we need. But most of our time is spent either on projects that they bring in of their own, knitting hobbies, weaving hobbies of different things, painting. I get people to bring in their own things to do painting, and chatting. Just time to talk. I've got a couple, 3 that come and don't do any of the projects. They just sit, watch those that are doing things, and talk with them while they're there. So it's just a great experience for us to more personally be able to talk with people and hear what their problems or complaints are. They may have nothing to do with PTSD in specific or in particular, a time that they served. It might have something to do with their home life right now, their spousal situation, kids who are living with them, or whatever it might be. And I can have just one person show up, and even if we don't talk, I see them sitting there in solace for the couple hours that they're there. It's rewarding enough to me to make me want to come next Thursday.
It's like a big therapy session.
It really is, but a very low-key, unprofessional therapy session. We don't have any certifications. When I first started doing this, I kind of hoped to have people on board that might have that, but it's ended up more, I have professional therapists, counselors, information and numbers that they could call, but it is more of a personal wellness type therapy session. I will say I have one participant in our group who has a lot of her own PTSD experience and addiction experience going through treatment, who is great to talk to others, and she can talk as deep or as shallow as they want about the help that's available, getting into different local meetings, be it AA or NA, to work on whatever your problem might be. Wow,
that is just fantastic. And it seems like, your organization grows bigger and bigger every year. And we've got a lot more to add. What else can you tell us about American Brawn?
Some of the things I wanted to say is, while I'm on the specific topic of the American Brawn Solace Center, I call it, I have one veteran who's been coming pretty regularly for 3 or 4 months now. And he has difficulties in his life of living in a home with his wife, daughter, grandkids, of being a lot more than he can handle much of the time, and appreciates our facility and that 2 hours of time to just have someplace to go and do exactly what he wants to do in every minute that he's there. We had a quiet conversation recently where he pretty casually told me how much of a crisis situation he was in over the holidays here, Christmas and New Year's.
It's a tough time of year for a lot of people.
It's a tough time for a lot of people, and he called a really close lifetime friend to try to share that with him, and he like shut him down. He was pissed because he called him at 6:30 in the morning, and so he vows to not talk to that friend again. And I've tried to keep that open, but he had listed ways that he could take his life, and there it was right in front of me. I didn't see him as a critical situation, but he's pretty casual about the whole thing.
Wow.
I don't know what his list is.
Sure.
But it's not something that traumatized him. He just openly, casually talked about it. He's probably 75, has led a good long life. Really proud of 20 plus years he spent in the service.
Was he in Vietnam?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had these discussions with others. I planned this summer to go to Sturgis, South Dakota to set up a booth and talk to people. I did that about 4 years ago, and you get into conversations that of people who want to talk. They want to get it off their chest. And it had always been a more traumatic situation, and his story and the way he so casually told me really opened my mind to what it is. So that's even got me thinking of, well, I don't want to do another night of the week, but maybe doing kind of a coffee chat someplace.
Sure, maybe a lunch thing or a midday thing where you could go to a coffee house and just shoot the breeze.
I consider myself to be maybe 5 years from retirement, so I'm still working with the day job. An early morning thing would work for me. Get together and just shoot the breeze and have somebody to talk to. Not necessarily an offshoot from American Brawn, just another place to go and chat and invite some of my close friends to come as well.
And when you're doing things for other people like you're doing, Kent, it gives you a sense of personal satisfaction in addition, helping the other people.
Yeah, I'm a Christian guy. I've become more faith-based after my life was saved. But it's just the right thing to do if I have time and willingness and skills or talents, whatever it might be, to help others. I like to do it.
Kent, if there is a veteran that is going through PTSD and needs some help and wants to get involved in your organization, how can they reach out to you?
I have my own personal cell phone number. It's 641-821-5134. Quickest, easiest way to call me or text me. I do work during the day, so I can't always take my calls. I don't always have my phone on. So if it's an urgent situation, 988 is the number to call. Don't think it has to be an emergency. Don't treat it the same as 911, where you might get scolded if it's not an emergency. When you call this number, there's somebody to talk to. And maybe all you need to talk to them about is, I'm having a rough day.
Right.
They're there to listen and help you get through that day, or help find help for you locally to get you through whatever the root problems are in your life. Other things I had to mention were my most recent activity that we had for American Brawn was we do an annual fundraiser. We've always called it a gala in the past because I thought making it sound fancy would raise a lot more money. That's not necessarily.
Okay.
Early on, I tried to put together a big car show, motorcycle show as a draw. The veterans and first responders are the draw for what we do. So I quit calling it a gala. Now I call it the American Brawn Friends Affair.
Okay.
Just to attract people that have supported us in the past, the friends who are now participating in our Solace Center program, and we raised enough money there that I've written checks for a little over $4,000 in grants for life-saving equipment.
Wow.
One was an AED unit that a sheriff's department needed a new one. Another one was pediatric rescue kit for a first responder department, EMT, to have on their ambulance that's specifically material for young kids and babies. And a couple other things that just knowing those are out there is very rewarding.
So some organization, say a fire department or veterans organization or whatever, wants some help from your organization. Do they write the grant or do you write the grant? How do they obtain what they need?
They can go to my website and find a grant application.
Okay.
I've been having a few glitches with my website where that's not coming through well, so I would tell them right now, just text that number that you're interested in a grant.
Okay.
641-821-5134. I don't read through these grants and expect them to be perfectly written. All I want to see is what their need is. I don't care where else they've looked for money. I just want to know what their need is and how much it is. I usually ask it to be around $1,000 or $1,500 because you can't get much for $1,000 nowadays.
Sure.
But I try to do that so that we can spread the love, if you will. But we've spent up to $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on different things.
That's great. So if people want to help out other than coming to your friend's night and whatever, how can they go about doing that, Kent?
Well, first of all, check out my website.
Okay.
Our website is americanbrawn.us, and the Brawn is spelled B-R-A-W-N.
Okay.
Go there and see what we're doing, and I have a spot on there for people to send a message to me. I get the email through my American Brawn website. I've made quite a few changes recently on our links page because I've had a lot of requests from companies around the country wanting to get their link on that page. So we've got it categorized nice. You can see what's there. People can see what kind of things I'm interested in and want to share information for, and see what we're doing. Photos in our events page. You can see the things that we've done, and all at this point, especially with our Solace Center, all you might need to do to help is show up and talk.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, that's great. So again, the once a week thing that you have going on right now, give us a wrap up on that. When do you meet? How does it work?
You bet. The American Brawn Solace Center, we work to do just that, give people solace when they're there. We're open from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Thursday night. If I need to be away, I've got people that open it for me. I've got a group of about 3 or 4 good participants / supporters. We're on Broad Street in Grinnell, right across the street from Brown Shoe, right down the street from the Grin City Bakery.
Sure.
Most people know where that's at. And the Masonic Lodge is the tallest building downtown. We're in the top floor. We are on the top floor, so there's a lot of stairs, but there's an electric chair to take people to the top, so that's good too.
Well, I got to tell you, Kent, I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning, and your energy is infectious. You're filling me back up with energy to get through the rest of the day.
Wonderful.
We're recording this in the afternoon in Grinnell, and thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for letting us use their office there. But get a hold of Kent, for heaven's sakes, if you are a veteran, or if you're a person who is an EMS person, or you just need some help. Get a hold of Kent, because his organization is here to help. Right, Kent?
Absolutely. Veterans, first responders. Because with the top floor of this building, anybody that makes it to the top of that step, I'm talking to them.
Okay.
I ain't turning anybody away, because we learn something from every person that comes up there as well.
Okay. Oh, I was going to ask you, your friends night that you have, that's not the gala anymore. Have you set a date for that?
I haven't set a date for this year's event. We are going to have a birthday celebration, the first anniversary for the Solace Center on March 21st, which will be there in upstairs in our facility. So it's a great time for people to see us. I'm working on live music to have up there, because in the back half of the room, I've got more of an intimate setting and an area for performers to be. We've had good performers in the past. But March 21st, maybe if you do nothing else, text my number to ask me for more details on that.
Okay, sounds good. Kent Reed, always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Jamie.
From American Brawn, check it out. Until next time, out is out. See ya.